years. But quite often we will do events promoting different aspects of things with the community and college life team. Yeah.
And what about the Students' Union? Do they get involved in this as well with you?
So with the recent campaign that we ran, for me, they're key. They're absolutely key because, again, I almost view the university as like some doddery old, archaic system that really is not cool and hip. So if I ever want students to attend something or say it in student speak or whatever, I will ask Kent Union to get involved because they will put it in a format that the university just doesn't do. And that's worked pretty well. And it's not just necessarily about it being archaic and a bit doddery. They also have the social media platforms that we just don't have. People don't tend to follow University of Kent on Instagram, for example. They'll follow Kent Union instead. Right. Yeah.
So obviously what you do relates to all, however many thousands of students there are at the university. But are there particular types of student that it's harder to get your message out to, or harder to reach?
Yeah, I would say maybe postgrad students, just because I sometimes think that there's this unspoken thing that there's a lot of stuff for undergrads and that quite a lot of the services and things aren't aimed at postgrads. Then maybe, we try to be as accessible as possible, but I think, if there are students who are disabled, for example, they might miss all the social media content if it's not a platform that they use, if they don't find it accessible. I also think males particularly, but I think that's more the way that we try to be as inclusive as possible with the messaging, but I think often the sexual violence thing generally seems more aimed at women because it's mostly those people who use it. So, not really, but I think there's definitely, certainly post-grads, maybe we could make a bigger deal of that it is open to everyone,
And what about away from the campus then? Is there any communications that goes on this outside of the confines of the campus and the sort of automatic access that students have to technology through the university? Are there other sources that you use there?
So we have quite good links with sort of like the local council and things like that, and obviously there's another university within Canterbury, and we all attend a meeting, so we're all fairly aware of what's going on. Often we'll do comms sort of things. So for example, I'm just trying to think, there's sort of like a council focus on safety, which would involve both this university and Christchurch. And so sometimes we will do a joint comms thing so that it goes out to the wider community. Obviously it's student based, and then there'll be posters and things like that in the actual venues that are off site. Is that what you mean? That sort of thing?
Yeah, I sort of guess. I know I'm aware of some universities who've worked with nightclubs and local pubs, eateries and so on, places where, particularly undergraduates hang out off campus, where they might get the message being reinforced in their social life, even though they're not at the university. That's the key thing, really. And so in terms of the tool that you have, the report and support tool itself, then what's the communication? So So I'm also interested in the issue of how students communicate back into the university. So what happens? So when there's somebody logs on and reports something, it obviously comes to you. But how do you make sure that system covers everything that the complainant, the student, wants to include? How do you design it so that you make sure that it fulfills the students' needs when they're inputting to that?
So the report and support tool itself is a sector leader in terms of quite a lot of the other universities now have that system. So it's very much based on, so the incident types, for example, are based on their research and things like that they do. So we have added new ones. So for example, spiking, that was not its own incident type until, you know, this academic year when generally it became a lot more talked about in the media. But also we're kind of led by people like the OFS, Office for Students, and their sort of guidance, and quite a lot of the stuff that they brought out was in relation to sexual violence, hate crime, harassment. So again, we're sort of led by that. But for me personally, so last academic year, I sort of always forget to I get lost with the lockdown as to where we were with that. In fact, it was the lost years. I got a letter from a group of students who were all representative of different societies and networks and things. And our old system, our old reporting system was called Inform Kent. And they basically wrote me a letter slagging it off big time, saying it was crap. And it wasn't very good. It didn't allow students to self-disclose their gender, for example, things like that. So I met with them, and it was that sparked us getting report and support, and I put a bid in for that. But since then, I have created this feedback group where all students who want to be involved in it can talk to me directly about problems that they think exist within the university, very focused very much on safety and sexual violence and things. And we basically work on them together. So if there are particular places on the university campus that they think is a bit, you know, it's a bit dark, or they're a bit worried about their safety or whatever, that's the format that we use. So when we created report and support, I always go back to them and say, this is what we're going to do. What do you think? And for me, it's a system that completely works because, albeit it's a very small slice of the student representation, they see things far differently than I ever do, and it's a great format for receiving that feedback, because what I was finding is that what the students think and what I think, or what the university thinks, can actually be really different. And we think we're doing a great job, and actually they either don't know it exists. And at the time, this letter very much was like, you know, we're not sure of where to get support, we're not sure of what to do in this situation. And actually all of those things existed, the students just didn't know about them. So that was really key for me, that actually they were telling me that they didn't know where to find any of this stuff. So that was also an instigator to this year, making things a lot more central. So that's where I use it, because I find that doing things like audits and student surveys and things, while they're great, for me it's like direct feedback is, no, that's crap, yes, that's great, this could be better, and that seems to really work.
So is report and support